In a rickety wooden house clinging to a remote hillside, a young girl named Anna lay gravely ill. Her parents were gone, and the little money they left behind had long been swallowed by endless medical bills. Her life was now counted in days. Her older brother, who could not speak, watched over her, his heart breaking with every shallow breath she took. He refused to let death steal the only family he had left. With a determination that burned brighter than any fear, he built a crude wooden cart. He lined it with the thickest, softest blankets they owned and gently placed Anna inside. Then, with nothing but his own strength, he began to pull her, step by painstaking step, across dozens of kilometers of rugged mountain paths, all the way to the city's largest hospital. The sight of this frail young man, drenched in sweat, his clothes thin and worn, pleading with his eyes for someone to save his sister, moved the doctors and nurses to their core. After a thorough consultation, the diagnosis was clear. Anna needed an immediate kidney transplant to survive. The bond between these two siblings was so powerful, so pure, that the hospital leadership made an extraordinary decision. They would waive the entire cost of the surgery. And the most suitable donor, the perfect match, was her brother. The head surgeon called the young man into his office. He looked at the boy, his heart heavy with the weight of what he had to say. "Your kidney can save your sister," the doctor began, speaking slowly and clearly. "But you must understand, this is a major operation. Even with modern medicine, there are always risks. If something goes wrong on the operating table, your own life could be in danger." At these words, all color drained from the brother's face. His thin shoulders, which had carried so much, seemed to sag under an invisible, crushing weight. Fear, hesitation, a storm of inner turmoil flickered across his eyes. The room fell into a heavy silence, broken only by the steady tick-tock of the clock on the wall, each second stretching into an eternity. After what felt like a lifetime, he slowly lifted his head. The fear was gone, replaced by a familiar, unshakable resolve. He looked the doctor straight in the eye and gave a firm, resolute nod. He would do it. The doctor let out a sigh of relief. He patted the boy's shoulder and told him to go get some rest, to prepare himself for the operation. But then, something completely unexpected happened. That very afternoon, the mute brother quietly slipped out of the hospital and vanished without a trace. The doctor, filled with a growing sense of dread, rushed to Anna's bedside. "Where did your brother go?" he asked urgently. "Did he say anything to you before he left?" Anna, weak but alert, replied softly, "He just told me. He needed to go home for a little while." The doctor's brow furrowed. He couldn't shake the image of the boy's pale, terrified face when he'd mentioned the risk of death. The surgery is so close, he thought. Why on earth would he go home now? The news spread through the hospital like wildfire. The donor had disappeared. One day passed, then two. Still no sign of the brother. Though no one dared say it to Anna, a grim assumption settled among the staff. He must have gotten scared and run away. Who wouldn't be scared of dying? They tried to hide their suspicions, to act normal around Anna, afraid the shock would be too much for her fragile heart. But the girl was incredibly perceptive. She saw the sideways glances, heard the hushed whispers that stopped abruptly whenever she looked up. Slowly, her smile faded. She began to turn her face to the wall, silent tears soaking her pillow. In her heart, she believed the unthinkable. Her brother, her only protector, had abandoned her. The scheduled day of the surgery arrived, and the air in the hospital room was thick with tension and unspoken disappointment. Just as all hope seemed to be fading, the door burst open. A figure stumbled in, clothes filthy, legs caked in dust, his shirt clinging to him, drenched in sweat. It was him. The mute brother had returned. The moment Anna saw him, a dam of pent-up emotion broke within her. She burst into tears, a mix of relief, anger, and confusion. The two siblings began to communicate in the silent, graceful language of their hands. It was a long, intense conversation. But the more they signed, the harder Anna cried, her sobs so heartbreaking and raw that they confused everyone watching. The surgery had to be postponed until she could be calmed. Unable to bear the mystery any longer, the head surgeon approached her bedside gently. "Everyone has been so worried," he said softly. "Can you tell us what you and your brother were talking about?" Anna wiped her tears, her voice trembling as she spoke. "I was angry," she whispered. "I blamed him. I asked him why he went home when the hospital was paying for everything. He told me. He spent these last few days going home to chop as much dry firewood as he could and to fill every single water jar in our house to the brim. He said the firewood and the water would last me for half a year." The doctor was completely stunned. "But why? Why would he do that?" A tearful smile touched Anna's lips, her eyes shining with an overwhelming love for her brother. "I asked him the same thing," she said, her voice catching. "He told me he was afraid. He was afraid that if something went wrong during the surgery, if he died, then when I got better and went home, I wouldn't have any firewood to keep warm or any water to cook with. He wanted to prepare everything for me before the operation, just in case he wasn't going to be there anymore." A profound silence fell over the room. The doctors and nurses who had doubted him, who had judged him a coward, now lowered their heads in shame, a hot sting of tears in their own eyes. His hesitation, his pale face, it was never about his own fear of dying. He wasn't afraid to die. He was terrified that if he died, there would be no one left in the world to take care of his precious little sister. In those days he was gone, he was in a frantic race against time, pushing his body to its absolute limit, gathering wood, carrying water, trying to build a safe future for her, even if it was a future he would never be a part of. To be born under the same roof, to share the same blood, to call each other brother and sister. It's one of the most sacred gifts life can offer. This story reminds us to cherish that bond, to protect it, and to love each other fiercely while we still have the chance. Because sibling love, in its purest form, is a love that asks for nothing in return. Thank you for watching. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more content that celebrates the best of the human spirit.